evening and welcome. This is Frank on Camnet. I hope you're keeping safe. 9 days ago, 9 days to go before Zambia decide. The election slated 12th of August 2021. Perhaps the most significant elections this country has ever held. And this being held in the midst of economic challenges and, of course, COVID. Tonight, we've decided to bring a man of experience. We've decided to look through the journalist lens as far as these elections are concerned. My guest, KAYANDA, who is National Director or Executive Director of MISA. Good evening, Austin, and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Are you keeping safe?
Very safe. Very safe.
Excellent.
I was equally vaccinated.
Very good. I'm vaccinated also, and really, I feel great, and I hope the rest of those who are undecided can decide, to do, the same. How significant, are these elections, Austin, and what are the issues dictating these elections, presidential, parliamentary, and local government?
I think these elections which are coming in, is it 8 days' time, are very, very important and crucial to the nation. As you know that certain economic fundamentals are not just about right. We have a lot of problems concerning the economy. The economic indicators are not very good. We have the problem of COVID-19. And I think these elections basically are just necessary and very, very important. As you know, elections keep the democratic country functioning as they give people the right to select their own government. The nature of democracy is that elected officials are accountable to the people, and they must return to the voters at a prescribed interval to seek their mandate to continue in office. For this reason, most of the democratic constitution, Zambia included, provide that elections be held at fixed regular intervals. And I think these elections have come at the right time.
Brilliant. Having given us that prelude, Austin, the starting point of any election is with ECZ in this in a country, and this relates to registration of voters. ECZ, or the government engine, decided to come up with a new voters registration. Was it the right thing to do, to open a new register? Why not operate from the old register?
Well, it's our considered view that the new registration of voters was not necessary. The voter registration exercise that was conducted in 2015 and 2016 elections, it lasted for 6 months, and this one, it lasted for a very short time. We don't know whether everybody was captured. And if you remember very well, in the last registration we did, over the period of 6 months, over 1 million new voters were captured during that time. And at the same time, we haven't had any census. So it's our guess that we have a population of 18, and of which 50% are their kids or young teenagers. Our guess is that the voters register should have reached at least 9 million voters for this coming elections.
Why do you think the figure you're talking about, 9 million, was not captured? Are there any reasons that made it difficult to reach a credible number?
Yeah, well, basically, if you remember very well, the time we were doing voter registration was not about right, especially considering that 60% of the Zambian population are in rural areas. That's the time people were preparing for their fields and so forth. And also, at that time, when the registration was done, we advertised on various platforms, but our rural populations, they don't have those platforms. They don't know about it. We feel that even the sensitization was not good enough. Yes.
There have been major, concerns, that, some of the would-be, voters were defranchised, and that it was tilted towards the ruling, party. Indeed, there was a report, done, by a SADC, group, which actually attests, to this. As MISA, did you follow, this situation to an extent that there could be, some credibility in these reports?
Well, basically, apart from that SADC report, we haven't had an independent research done to validate these sentiments. However, it's a good guess we have that certain people did not register for these elections. If you remember very well, the Central Statistics Office, which is called now, is it the Central Zambia Population Agency, whatever it's called, initially, their guess, their prediction was that 9.5 million voters were going to be registered. But when 7 million voters were captured, again they backtracked and said that no, the only eligible voters are 7.5, which we seriously doubt. Our guess still stands at 9 million voters. Yes.
What would you say are the major concerns that you have observed in terms of how ECZ has handled the process so far?
Well, basically, what we think is that there was not much consultation in terms of this exercise. I feel that ECZ should have taken a major step, consult all the stakeholders, and come up with the correct decision. But what we saw and what we heard was that they are making these pronouncements, and we don't know how valid they were, and everybody else had to follow.
Do you think the Electoral Act is being abrogated by some political parties, to an extent, that what should be an even ground is being threatened?
Well, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we feel that all the major political parties should be consulted, all the stakeholders should be consulted. At the same time, we saw that when the campaigns started, certain parties, actually UPND and PF, were suspended. We feel that we commend ECZ for that action. At least it showed that they had a bit of some teeth to bite. Yes, yes. But we still feel that a lot of democracy is all about consultations. You cannot make independent decisions. If you do, then you become a dictator. And we feel that ECZ equally should have consulted. Yes.
You've just made reference to violence. What do you think are the major contributing factors to violence? I think unseen, never seen before. I mean, we have not seen this kind of violence before. And in saying so, why has violence taken center stage in this particular election?
Yeah, basically, MISA is undertaking a project called Voters' Voice. We are doing media monitoring, and we have been monitoring the whole process from the time it started up to now. And we have produced two reports on the media monitoring itself. And from the report itself, so far, this campaign hasn't been issue-based. It's more of character assassination, individualism, and so forth. What we expect as MISA is that the good ideas should win on the platform. And you must bring the ideas on why people should vote for you. And everything we expect are things like unemployment, agriculture, youth empowerment. Those are some of the issues we expect political parties that are participating in these elections to bring on board. And people should be able to make informed decisions on the basis of what each political party has got to offer.
Is this violence being used as a dangerous, tactic to scare whichever, political party, especially among the two big, parties, PF and, UPND? Is it being used, as a tactic, unfortunately?
Well, we can't conclude that it's being used, but in all fairness, violence is unacceptable in a democracy. Violence is should be condemned at all costs, and should never be allowed in any democratic dispensation. People should be able to make a decision on the basis, not on the basis of fear, but on the basis of what is brought or what is being sold to them by the political players on the market.
We have seen the police overstretched, the police unable, to arrest, violence, and this again is being attested by the presence now of defense forces, on the streets. What is your take on this, development?
Well, my take is that the police are overstretched. The police are overstretched, and also the issue of, if you remember very well, the Sesheke elections, where policemen lost their jobs, and that was a very big indicator on how the police can operate. People now are operating in fear. We have one radio station, I can't mention the name, and one political cadre went to close the gate of the radio station because somebody from the opposition was going to be featured. And when the police went there to go and arrest him, he challenged them. He says, "Do you want your job?" And it had to take His Excellency the President to intervene, and that's when that person was arrested. But do we need the President to intervene in such matters? The President is too big to attend to such matters. We have the IG, we have the police commissioners, we have senior police officers. People should be able to give a latitude to the police to operate independent, which I feel is not the case. Yes.
The IG, recently made a directive, that the police should be, hard-handed, and indeed they've been since, that clarion call, especially on the, opposition. Is the police being manipulated? Is there a hidden hand here which is forcing the police to be more hard-handed, towards the opposition?
Well, I don't think so. I think the police are quite professional, except that, of course, we have a few elements who are very unprofessional, but they are trying under difficult circumstances to function. Yes.
But how do you explain the police making it difficult for opposition leaders, especially HH, to move from one place, to the other? There have been recent reports, which have indicate that, the police have stopped HH from visiting some areas.
Well, our position as MISA is we advocate for freedom of expression, access to information, and free speech. We feel that it was not right people should be able to listen to the opposition and hear what he has got to say. If he has got something worth taking, let him take it. If he is talking rubbish, let him brush it aside. But we feel that when the human right of freedom of expression is hindered, automatically democracy is affected. Yes, and we as MISA, we do not accept violation of freedom of expression.
Austin, let's look at the number of political parties, in this race. It's again, the numbers are very high. We're talking about 16, presidential candidates. In a small country like us, in terms of the electorate. What is your take again on this? Does this represent, democracy? Does this enhance, democracy?
Yes, basically in any democratic situation, people are free to express themselves, people are free to stand, people are free. We feel that this is good for democracy. When they have a large number of contestants, people have got a wider choice in terms of somebody who can sell themselves and who has got better things to offer on the table. We feel that in a democratic society, people should be able to stand, people should be able to make a decision on who they can vote for. And we feel that this is healthy. Actually, if anything, there's no limit to which you can restrict the number of political parties to come on the playing field. Yes.
Having said that, Austin, this is a unique election in view of limited campaign, platforms. To what extent is this bound to impact the outcome, of, the elections, in view of COVID, which is restricting, our political, leaders, to interact with the electorate?
Yeah, this elections is a bit unique in the sense that we have COVID-19. And this disease threatens the health of the population. The major sectors of the economy are affected. It also challenges elections through a democratic world. And in a country like Zambia, where 60% are in the rural environment, they don't have access to internet, they don't have access to online platforms, they don't have access to radios, they don't have access to TV. Definitely, we feel that it's going to impact and affect the elections in the sense that people will not be able to make informed decisions. People will be voting on the basis of a party, not really what he has got to offer or bring on the table.
The president is touring, distributing, masks and other related items, to COVID, whilst it's not very easy for the opposition political leaders to move around. Does this favor the ruling party? And in saying so, again, the people are saying ECZ is favoring the ruling party, whilst it is being hard on the opposition parties in terms of moving around. It's not applying the same to the president of the country. Your take again, as MISA?
I don't think it has got any impact in terms of campaigning at the moment. I feel that it's our considered view that people have already made their decisions on who they can vote for. Whether the opposition is being restricted, I feel that people have made their position, their decision. I have already said that there are a lot of factors people look at in these elections: economic fundamentals, the health aspect of it, the COVID itself, what people are promising to bring on the table. Yes.
Yes, as a rider, to that, you did indicate in Austin, that this particular election, vis-a-vis the campaign, is not issue-based. What issues would you have loved the political parties, to be addressing?
Well, first and foremost, the first issue we expect are economic fundamentals. As you know that a lot of people now, they cannot even afford 3 meals in a day. We expect issues of unemployment. A lot of young Zambians are unemployed. A lot of graduates are in the streets. From some, of course, unconfirmed research, almost 60,000 teachers who graduated from the training colleges are still in the streets. And those are some of the issues we expect. Issues of agriculture, 60% of the people depend on agriculture. Those issues should be addressed. Unemployment, youth empowerment, and also, what are the long-term plans, the vision for the people who are coming to govern the country? Those are some of the things we expect as MISA.
There are a lot of economic and social issues that the government could have done better. But where does the confidence of the ruling party comes from? And in saying so, one would have expected opposition parties to take advantage of some of the failures of the government of the day. Something is not balancing here.
Well, as I said earlier on, with us as MISA, we look at more of issue-based campaign. We don't want to look at individuals on where they failed and so forth. What is it UPND is going to bring? What is it that PF is going to bring? What are they promising the people? And the people should hold them accountable. That's the more reason why at MISA we hold what we call town hall debates. We hold public meetings, and we teach people to use a scorecard so that the people are held accountable on what promises they are going to make. If somebody promises to do this and this and this, and they don't deliver, after 5 years, vote them out. Okay. Now, people are well enlightened, even in rural areas. They use the scorecards, and those scorecards are holding people accountable on what they had promised to bring on the table.
Do you feel, that the electorate, is asking questions this time around and as to the expectations from the candidates who are participating?
Yes, in urban areas along the line of rail, basically people are questioning what people are bringing on the table. But we don't know how the electorate from the rural areas are going to vote. Most likely, we expect them to vote on party lines because the message hasn't been sent to them on exactly what is being brought on the table. Yes.
Are there any concerns when people simply vote on party lines in Austin?
It's not good at all. It's not good at all. I don't see any problem where a Tonga cannot vote for a Bemba or somebody from Chipata or a Luvale on the basis of their vision themselves, what they promise to bring. The issue of tribal, I think it's quite retrogressive. I think it should have actually no place in the Zambian economy and the politics, because let's elect the people who can deliver our means. Let the people who can solve our problems. Let the people who can do what we want. Those are our servants. We employ them and they should do what we want. But if we are going to vote for Mr. Mtuvila because he's Bemba, then we are having it all wrong, because Mr. Mtuvila might not be the best candidate, but just because he's Bemba, is voted in, and that doesn't work.
Why do you think tribal sentiments, are being expressed almost 60 years, down the line? Who is to blame for this?
Well, basically, from my considered view, I think people who are expressing tribal sentiments, they are shallow-minded. very progressive people who look at ideas and issues. Now, if you start bringing in issues of tribal, what this one has done, this, we are not interested, as we want you to discuss how are you going to bring development, how are you going to address these fundamental issues affecting the economy itself. What are you going to do? What measures are you going to do? We need to be now looking at the debt. You are looking at the economic indicators like inflation, like the exchange rate, like the GDP, and so those are some of the issues we are interested to know. How somebody is going to solve those issues.
Was it enough for ECZ to suspend Mr. Kambwili for uttering, tribal, sentiments? Was that enough, or could ECZ have done, better than that? Well, did that send a strong message?
Well, I don't have much information about that other than what was being broadcasted, and because Mr. Kambwili said he had his own, but in all, we are saying tribal sentiments are unacceptable in whatever form it is. They are highly unacceptable. If ECZ acted on the basis of stronger groundings that there was tribal sentiments, we totally support them. Yes.
Before we talk about the performance of the media in Austin, let's go back to the participation of the women, in this election. We've seen, initially the aspiring, would-be candidates, the numbers were very, very high. Unfortunately, when it came to selections, we ended up from where we've always, been with less, women, as, candidates. Again, as MISA, your concerns about this?
We are very concerned. We feel that we need to follow the gender protocol of at least the minimum of 30% should be women. We feel that the parties involved should have done better. And also, the environment itself was not favoring the women in terms of the grade 12 clause, in terms of, politics here. When a woman starts advancing in terms of politics, people can easily victimize, abuse her, and also sexually assault her in terms of character. And most of the women are scared. And we should encourage a lot of women to come on board and participate. If anything, what a man can do, a woman can do. I have been in class with certain women who have scored better than me, and I don't doubt the ability of the women, where women can do. But we feel that in the next elections, parties involved should do better. I'm very happy with the Socialist Party. They adopted a lot of women to contest various positions, and that is very, very commendable. But other parties, I feel they did not do well in terms of giving an opportunity to the women.
Again, before we come to the media in Austin, lots of money has been spent on this election at a time when the country is going through economic, challenges. The three big parties, PF, UPND, and now Socialist Party have spent a lot of money on this campaign. The figures were released in terms of how much money they spent on billboards. I know they spent also a lot of money on electronic, media. Should we be asking where this money is coming from?
Well, for now, Ambassador, we don't have a law that compels a political party to disclose the source of funds. Our worry at MISA is basically, is that money clean? Has the money been laundered? Where is the source of money? The money could be from drug nets, mafias, and so forth, which is very, putting the country in a very, very awkward position. As far as the law is concerned, there's no law that compels them, and people can spend as much as they want, and we have no control over that. We feel that maybe as we are looking at the Constitution, possibly after the elections, those are some of the clauses we need to put in our Constitution so that people are accountable. We are able to know, where did Mr. Mutubira get the money? I mean, is it a clean source? Has the money been laundered? Is it from a mafia and so forth? All those issues, they need to be included in our Constitution or some of the statutes that are addendum to the Constitution.
Going forward, would it work? Would it be a welcome situation for political parties to be funded? Should there be a fund for political parties? Because, you know, those with a lot of money, obviously they have some undue advantage over the other parties which have problems in sourcing, you know, for money.
Well, that's the ideal position. Parties should be funded. But where we are coming from, at the moment, the economic fundamentals do not allow. We are defaulting in terms of servicing the debts. We've been in discussions with IMF for a long time to get some bridging finances and so forth. So all things being equal, that would be the ideal position, that all parties should be funded so that the playing field is leveled. But the way it is now, anybody can do anything, and people, big boys, will get more advantage and possibly influence and influence the voters.
Talk about you know, money, you know, Austin. Again, do you have fears, you know, concerns, you know, that assuming these big boys, you know, with big money get into government, depending on where the sources of money is coming from, you know, those funders could have, you know, undue influence on the running of the government?
Yes, that's the more likely situation. We are going to have a state capture where people now start influencing the running of the country. We feel that the country must be run by Zambians, make a decision in the interest of the citizens who put them to power, and also do the things they promised the people to do. Yes.
Let's look at the media, you know, which falls directly under you, you know, as you know, MISA. What would you say has been the quality, for lack of a better way of putting it, the quality of performance of the media during, you know, these, you know, campaigns?
Well, as you know, the media here in Zambia is highly polarized, and we cannot rule out certain media favoring those particular parties and so forth. However, we must say that the private media, they have accounted themselves very well in terms of reporting. If you look at our report, which is accessible on our website, most of the stories covered by the private media were balanced stories. They were not single sourced. But if you look at the public media and partly the community media, most of the stories that appeared are not well balanced. They are single sourced. So we feel that we can do better. And you know, the ethics of journalism is that for every story you make, it must be truthful, ethical, balanced, and so forth. You must give the opportunity to somebody else to respond to what you want to publish.
The public media, you know, in every election, you know, even in outside elections, you know, has been under the coach that it favors, you know, the government of the day. You know, most of the stories, you know, are that of the government of the day, the party, you know, in government. Have you taken interest, you know, as MISA, in this, situation?
Yes, we have. We have taken interest. If you remember very well, in the 2016 elections, ZNBC were covering the PF 73%. And when we tried to engage ZNBC, they were uncooperative, and MISA took the matter to court. Apparently, the matter is still in court. I can't discuss more. For this year, we have engaged ZNBC. We had a meeting last week with ZNBC, and it was very, very constructive. And if you look at the scenario between 2016 and now, of course, ZNBC are still covering the PF, but it has reduced from 73% to 60%, giving more room for other players to be covered as well. However, the discussion I had with the Director General, of course, I can't disclose the contents of what we discussed, but they promised to do better. And they told us what they are doing to make the playing field level. What we liked more about this is that the Director General at the ZNBC was very receptive. And we discussed a lot of issues which are going to improve in terms of reporting, coverage, editorial policy, and so forth. So we are hoping that we can hold the Director General of ZNBC to account to say, please, what you are promised, what is it? But the meeting we had last week was very, very constructive.
What should ECZ be doing in a situation, like that, like this, because they're responsible, for this, process to ensure that a free and fair election is delivered?
We feel that ECZ, they've got the mandate. Even in the law, they are allowed to intervene when they see that media coverage is not well balanced. And it's the duty of ECZ to compel those media houses who are not covering certain political parties to give an equal field for everybody. We feel that ECZ has got the mandate, they've got the power, they only need to implement it.
Tell me, in other countries, the media, especially private media, take a stance. I keep on giving the example of the USA, even England, where Fox TV is Republican. CNN leans, towards the Democrats. You go to UK, the Telegraph leans towards the Conservatives. The Mirror, perhaps, Labour. Remove the public, media like BBC, like Voice of America. In this case, ZNBC. Should private media, in this country, take a position and say, we are going to support this political party?
There's nothing wrong with the media taking a position. However, there should be a disclaimer to say, look here, I support Mr. Mutubila. Even when I'm reading an article, I know for sure that what is written here is tilted towards Mr. Mutubila. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. What is wrong is a situation where you are hiding behind neutral reporting. When you start, you don't declare your interest, you just are part of the polarization, then it becomes very, very bad, because I don't know what you're thinking. But if I know that I'm listening or reading Fox publication, I know exactly they will write good things about the party they are supporting, and they will not write good things about that. Even my mind is set. I know for sure that what they're trying to do. There's nothing wrong with the media taking positions on what they want to do.
MISA is supposed to conduct, training, workshops, leading up, to the elections. Did MISA undertake, training, for the media, to ensure that, they know what they're doing, in terms of coverage?
Yes, MISA has conducted so far 26 capacity building workshops for journalists around the whole country. We assist the journalists in terms of editorial policy, programming, in terms of other functions and so forth. Not only that, this year it's very interesting in the sense that there is even a project called sponsored by UNDP, which looks at misinformation, disinformation, fake news, and also how people can use the reality check model for them to find whether this information is correct. And we are rolling out to all the journalists in the country. We had planned for 15, and we have already done 9 capacity building in terms of that. We are working with other institutions like panels, Bloggers Association, and so forth, so that people, immediately you get the newspaper, you read the story, no, Mr. Mtubira was fighting. You know, you automatically, you don't believe that he was fighting. You know, you can use the reality check. You can use the reality check to check whether this information. As you know now, publication is not a monopoly of registered entities. Anybody is a publisher now. You can publish anything on social media, whether true or not, and so forth. And you cannot regulate an opinion. And what we see on social media, some of them are correct, others are fake news, others total misrepresentation of what it's supposed to be. So people should be aware of that, and they use the reality check model. We appreciate the assistance we got from UNDP on this, and also UNESCO. They are funding some workshops on capacity building for the journalists. CIDA through BBC Media Action. Also, we are doing capacity building. We have conducted so many workshops. And what is more interesting now is that beyond the newsroom, we have engaged the police on the police to understand the role of the media. You know, there has been a lot of assaults on journalism and so forth. And also the media to understand the role of the police. I mean, for argument purposes, you have His Excellency coming here. I am a journalist. I would like to take the best shot. And, you know, how far can you go to be near the president? Those are some of the issues the police were trying to educate the journalists to say, look here, as much as you are covering this is the way you should cover the VVIP, the VIP, anybody else, and so forth. And also, the police, they understand now that this is the role of the media, and they need to support them. So we have done a lot of sensitization, a lot of workshops, and we will continue beyond just these elections.
Based on the training that you have provided, has the media's performance been commensurate to what you've imparted? Has this enhanced the performance? Have they done justice to coverage of issues?
Yes, if you look at our first media monitoring report, you compare the two. We have launched the first and the second. You see that the quality of reporting has improved. And actually, if anything, we are launching another report on Thursday. You are welcome, Ambassador. You come and see what is contained in the report itself. You will see that there are some milestones being achieved by the training we are doing. And more important is that at least I can account for the donor money that it has got. It has added value to the journalism profession.
Brilliant. You made reference to social media. Does it have a bigger impact in these elections?
Well, it has. As you know that most of the people, the voters, are youth. And these youth are always on social media. And that's the only platform you can reach them. If you want to reach them, the youthful population. And this is an opportunity which has been missed by political parties. Most of the political parties should have used this avenue to reach at as many as possible these youthful voters. But the social media has got a lot of impact, and it can affect and sway the direction of the election itself.
Related, to that, Austin, opinions. We're seeing opinions, recently. Again, does the electorate have to, even political parties, do they have to read much into these opinions?
It's our considered view that those opinion polls are they've got no impact. In the first place, we don't know the methodology they're using. And two, these opinion polls, 60% of the predictions are always wrong. And two, we don't know who conducted. Who did you, all those, there are certain fundamentals, if I want to sway the direction of the voters, I'll say, no, people like Mr. Mutuvira. But how? How did you arrive at that? We just laugh when we see these opinion polls from some researchers from UNSA. Those are academicians, and that's just academic record. And they find it funny to do those things. But it's our considered view that electorate should just ignore and throw those opinion polls with the contempt they deserve. Yes.
With a few weeks remaining, well, just a couple of days anyway, 9 days or so, we understand there's still a number of undecided voters, out there. How should the candidates approach this, knowing that there are still a number of undecided, voters, out there?
Well, like in every country, you have undecided voters. In America, we have swing states. Who make their decision on the last day. It's our view that the candidates should use the avenues available to influence those voters who are not yet decided. I mean, let them use the social media, electronic, radio, and so forth. That will do, because this year, the elections campaign are a bit different from all the other years. We don't have rallies, you don't have even this door-to-door campaigns. I don't know whether they've got any impact, but our appeal is let the political players use their valuable platforms to influence the undecided
voters.
Voters, right. Yes.
I'm talking to Austin Kayanda, who is the National Director, Executive Director of MISA. We're looking at this issue from the journalist point of view. We'll take a break, and when we come back, your questions, if you've got any questions, please, text them. And if you want to call us, please, do call us, and we'll take in some couple of questions, whether on text or phone, and then maybe one or two, questions, before we close. This is Frank on Camnet. Again, my guest, is Austin Kayanda, who is the National Director, Executive Director of MISA. This is Frank on Camnet. Join us very shortly.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
This is Frank on Camnet. My guest tonight, Austin KAYANDA, who is National Director for MISA. We'll take in our calls if there are any calls tonight, and your takes. If you've got any questions, please text them now. Before we reflect on that, perhaps a question, Austin, on the foreign exchange. The kwacha has suddenly strengthened, coinciding with election in a period. You're reading into that?
Well, basically, we don't really know the fundamentals on the gaining of the kwacha against the major convertible currencies. However, me, I'm an economist. It takes a lot for the currency to gain against major convertible currencies. What that means is that you need to produce more and export more. You need more foreign exchange earnings and ventures for you to gain foreign exchange. But I don't really know what could be the underlying reason why the kwacha is gaining. And we are just guessing at the moment. But when a kwacha gains, it's a good thing for the country. But as to the fundamentals, why the kwacha is gaining, I seriously don't have an idea.
7 million, registered voters. It will be important, to get, most of these, on the voting day to vote. Normally there's apathy. To make it worse now, there's COVID. Are you worried about this? What should be done? What should political parties do? ACZ, all the stakeholders, players, to ensure that most of these 7 million, turn out?
Yeah, we need serious sensitization. And because, this COVID mainly attacks people with underlying conditions, we foresee a situation where people with these underlying conditions might not decide to risk. They may decide to stay away. The elderly, they may decide to stay away, which will affect the voter turnout. We are hoping that possibly the young turkeys, the young generation, will make an impact in terms of voting. And the problem again we have is that the elderly who understand the importance of voting are the people who are at risk at the moment.
Yeah.
The young people, I don't see a young person standing in a queue for 4 or 5 hours to come and vote. They may lose interest. We may have a situation where a certain percentage of the population might not vote.
Let's see if we've got any. Do we have any questions on the screen? You know, director, any questions on the screen that we can deal with? No messages, and as it is, the expectations from the observers and the monitors. What situation prevails. There've been complaints that the number of observers and monitors is being limited this time.
Well, we are equally concerned that institutions like SADC could not send their monitors. And the monitors, they play a very important role in terms of validating and also legitimizing the fairness of the election itself. We are not really very sure, but we are hoping for the best in terms of, we are hoping that there will be no violence because that can affect the turnout. We are hoping that the monitors will be as transparent as possible and report things the way they are.
Counting, transmission of results, what is MISA's take? How would you like this to be handled?
No, basically us, we are trying to aggregate ourselves. We have a team of MISA.
I'm told there's a caller on the line. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, is that something?
Yes, it is. What is your name, sir, and what is your question?
My question is, I wanted you as the journalist to ask the opposition party and the ruling party on the behalf of a party. My question is, why is the dollar appreciating when there are no exports? And secondly, why didn't they improve the economy in the last 5 years? And what is going to make them improve the economy during COVID time? What we are seeing is COVID. And if at all they can make a promise that is indeed they will be able to improve the economy, what periods and the scale? If it means to appreciate the dollar, how much are they going to realize from the loss of the dollar? And what periods attached to that? If both parties can come up with chances to improve the dollar and improve the economy, that question should be strictly given to them to prove right, and at the period that they're going to say you have failed or you're going to reject it, that period should be put in the record. After reaching this period, you'll be able to come back to them and tell them that you failed, you promised to improve the economy, to improve dollar, exactly as in this period, and you failed. Those questions should be given to them.
Thank you very much. I'll flip the question, Austin, since the opposition is not here. Okay, part of the question is what you made reference to. How come the dollar? I mean, the question is appreciated, and in terms of the economy, what would be your expectations from whoever comes in as government in terms of dealing with the economy? I think maybe that's the way I should rephrase that question.
Well, I really appreciate on that question. We will deliver this question to Costa. We are partners, and we will ask this question to the presidential candidates who are currently debating. However, as I said, we don't have real data on economic fundamentals on why the dollar is appreciating. But the way forward is that whichever government comes into power, we expect them to work on the issue of the debt servicing, the issue of increased productivity, increased exports, anything that brings money. And when we have improved the fundamentals, the dollar automatically will start now going up.
Right. And let's see if we can, do we have any questions on the screen? No messages, tonight. Right. One or two questions, before we close. Austin, whoever emerges in a winner will have the daunting task of addressing the economy and in particular cost of living, poverty, and most important, uniting a divided in a country. What message do you have to the politicians who are participating? Let me see if we can take in a caller before you take on that question. Good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Your name, please?
To be anonymous and commit to. I've got much research for you with the challenge. I've got the situation everywhere. And I've got to make without fear of further that we have to be as a nation.
Your line is not very clear. I think maybe try and call us back, because the line is not very clear at all. The issue I raised. Maybe you can call again before we end the issue of uniting the country.
Yeah, these are some of the issues as MISA we're always advocating for. The issues affecting the economy. These are some of the issues we thought the presidential elections for this year will be issue-based. We expect the contestants to address the issue of the economy, the cost of living, the poverty, and more important, the uniting the divided country. At the moment, you know that the country is almost divided, and we need somebody very, very strong like KAYANDA to unite all the 73 tribes into one. And when we unite, we'll move as a team. But if we divide, we start pointing fingers, this one is Bemba, this one is Tonga, then we will go nowhere. But we expect the contestants, especially now that we have the presidential debate, and our appeal equally to Costa, to address the media as the agenda setter, to let the people discuss about the economy, the cost of living, the poverty, and uniting the country, what they are going to do.
Tommy, you've just made reference to the debates. I don't know whether the current Republican president has confirmed in the past, he has not taken part. Does this point to the fact that debates really don't make a difference?
Well, we expect everybody to come, because for the voters, they need all the information to make an informed decision. We expect everybody to come and articulate issues, and then the people will decide on who they want to vote for. I'm not very sure whether there's anybody, any presidential candidate, but from the report I got from the organizers of these presidential candidates, all the 16 is it 16 or 19?
16, I think.
Were invited, and almost all of them had confirmed participating. I'm yet to see who will not appear to articulate issues.
Right. Director, if there's no question on the text, perhaps, and I can ask my final, question. No text. Right. As we come to the end of the program, Austin, perhaps you just final message to the key stakeholders, the political parties, ECZA, the media, and of course the electorate.
Yeah, first to the political parties who would like this election to be issue-based, not personality. We are not interested for you to be discussing people who are not there to defend this one did this one did this. We expect you to address real issues affecting. A lot of issues at the moment are not just about right, and we expect the candidates to address those issues. The economy, the fundamentals are not just about right. The cost of living is just out above an average citizen. The poverty is going up. The country is getting united. The issue of unemployment, the issue of women, the issue of disabled, the issue of children. Those are the messages we want to go to the people for them to make an informed decision. In terms of the media, we expect the media to be very, very impartial, report exactly, and equally the media is the agenda setter. When you invite these candidates to appear either on TV or radio, please set the agenda. The agenda should be based on the issues people want to hear. And as such, as a journalist, you can set the agenda yourself. Then in terms of...
you got some messages? Sorry to cut you. We can continue. Do we have a caller or some message? Ambassador Bio Zaid has given a position on why the dollar has gained, but our economist, who is the guest, has decided not to refer to that. Does that mean that he does not agree with Bio Zaid? Do we have another question? How possible can it be for the new government to update the economy in case of any changes of the government? Take note of that. Right. Could you maybe delve into those two questions?
I've not seen the statement from Bank of Zambia, and I cannot comment on it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm an economist.
Basically,
myself.
I think making reference to the high prices of copper and the dividends now, have gone up, and there's more money in circulation.
I don't know. I see us. Are we maximizing the production of copper at the moment?
Yeah.
That's what we don't know. Are we exporting enough to make the dollar appreciate? Those are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves. But I haven't seen the statement, but I've got my own opinion. Yeah. I've got my own view on why the dollar is appreciating. But definitely, it needs a lot of analysis. In terms of the second question, yeah. Was asking about change of government. Yeah. As at MISA, we are very neutral. We don't support any political party. Whichever party is going to win, we will work with them. And as such, I will put our position. And it's our position also as MISA to criticize where things go wrong. Right. We'll always issue a statement, we'll engage the government, and which we have done before, and we'll continue.
Right. You're finding you didn't finish, the expectations from the players involved.
Yeah. Then what we expect from the ordinary citizen is not to be swayed with the Chitenges. Let them make an informed decision. What is it that we want? Who can bring that thing we want? And not only that, let's document whatever the politicians, the promises they're making to us, and we hold them accountable. Yeah. If they do not deliver, automatically in the next 5 years, vote them out. Let new people come and try.
Austin, thank you very much for making an appearance on our show, and continue to keep safe. And good luck, to MISA and the journalists, how they're going to cover these elections.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on there.
This has been, Frank On Camnet. My guest was Austin Kayanda, who is a National Director, Executive Director of MISA, articulating some of the expectations from the media and, of course, from all the players in this very important elections. When we'll be back, next week, it'll be 2 days before D-Day. We hope we can get somebody from ECZ to give us a picture of the likely picture of what is going to happen on the 12th, of August, and all issues pertaining to the 12th, of August. And of course, looking back, how has, ECZ handled, this, process. Thank you to the director, Isaac, and his, crew. And of course, my executive directors, the pastor and the wife, Pastor Chiluba, and Mrs. Chiluba. And of course, you viewers, on behalf of my guest, Ambassador Frank Motobela, good evening and keep safe.